to discuss the national champion Michigan Wolverines in 5, 4, 3.
And we are back, folks, here on the Michigan Insider on the Big 1050 WTKA, online at the Big1050.com. Sam Webb, Mr. Ira Weintraub on the other side, and joining us as they do, top of the 9 o'clock hour every single Thursday, the MGoBlog Roundtable crew. But this is not just every other Thursday. This is the Thursday after Michigan won the national championship in basketball, taking their rightful place. It's one of the best teams of all time, in-state supremacy. All the things that you wanted, you clamored for, is back again. Here for the Maize and Blue, joining me to reflect and then to look ahead to what might be another championship run. It's our friends from MGoBlog. Starting off first with Brian Cook. Brian, how are you this morning?
I'm quite well.
Yes, sir. It's hard to not be quite well at this point. And then we move on over to Seth Fisher. Seth, how are you this morning?
Morning, Sam. I got a Craig-level story to share with you guys. So, you know how every person's got kind of like a scene, right? Like, you know, like if you see a girl like in pigtails and like ripped jeans and leather jacket and like a tiny little backpack with a Hello Kitty, you're like, where does this person belong, right? And then you see her like going to a Baby Metal concert and you're like, okay, I get it. That's what that's their scene. So my scene, I've discovered, is hotel lobby right after Michigan won a national championship. That's my jam. I need to be going to these things as much as I possibly can because I just fit in so great. So we're there. I'm hanging with Ira, and I get a tweet from a Michigan State person who I know is like, "Hey, you guys better go and thank your NIL people for this." And right then, Ira spots Therese Whitehead, who's the new Michigan GM. So I walk up to her and I go, "Hi. I was just told by a Michigan State fan to go and thank our NIL people for this national championship we just won. So thank you very much for this national championship we just won." Because I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, they do great work over there. Tracy is tremendous. And the NIL support at Michigan is unbelievable. But they didn't spend the most money. And, you heard Mike Boynton has made this point a bunch of times. I don't know if Dusty has as much, but Mike outright said, hey, we didn't spend the most money in NIL. I mean, they certainly have a healthy amount, but Kentucky, Craig Ross, spent at least $10 million more. But look at the results.
Yeah,
Craig, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
We got you. You good? Yes.
Oh, we good? Okay, sorry. Yeah, I mean, that's the rumor. Who knows what the realities are? I mean, because it all just seems to be stuff that floats around. But yeah, my understanding is Michigan. Yaxel said Kentucky offered him a lot more. I think he said even up to 3 times more than what Michigan offered. So I know
Trey McKinney got offered more.
Okay. So it's not just money, and it's, still players who want to play together, which they did. Players who aren't concerned necessarily about their own stats first. Players who aren't considered or don't have their own playing time as the top priority, and coaches who can put that together. Those are the things that really matter, and not just money, although money is obviously salient these days. I mean, as perhaps it should be. But yeah, one thing I want to say is, Seth and I last week completely weaseled out on this game where we both had Michigan winning by a point. And Brian was a complete contrarian, as is sometimes the case, where he picked, I think, Akron or somebody to win, someone who didn't win. I know that. And Sam went, nah. Michigan's going to win this thing, and they'll win easily against these teams. And Sam was right. So someone should shout out Sam, saying that he had this outcome sort of clear in his mind.
Well, I didn't have them. The only person I know that had them blowing out Arizona was Daniel Horton. He
All right.
predicted a blowout. Felt like their offense was too limited to really get anything consistent going against Michigan. I had Michigan winning for sure, for sure, no doubt, but not in the fact. Man, wow. You talk about a dominant team, and the only reason, Brian Cook, that the championship game wasn't an absolute rout was you had Yax hurt. If Yax doesn't get hurt, UConn gets run out of the building.
Well, also you hit, I think, a literal total of 3 jump shots in that game.
Right.
Like UConn's a good defense, but nobody's that good, right? Like, so yeah, it felt like we talked all year on our podcast about how this team was made 3-pointers optional. And they took that literally in the final, and they still won. So, as a special team, and as I wrote in my game column, a team, like not a collection of players, but like the kind of switching that they have to pull off, the kind of unselfishness that they had all year, the fact that Yaxel Lendeborg basically came to Michigan to figure out how to be a sidekick, like that's not going to happen every year. And like, people are talking about how this is a new era in college basketball, but I don't think it is. Because if you look at the teams that have won the championship or even been 1 seeds since the barn door opened and transfers, nobody else has started more than 1 transfer in their first year at a school. This is not easy to do. It's not easy to mesh the personalities. It's not easy to get people to play together on the same page. And so I think that, we're going to look back at this championship not as the dawning of a new age in college basketball, but just a really exceptional team that is very difficult to put together.
Yeah. So Seth, it's funny. I said a couple of times during this run how Dusty it was an inadvertent flex by Dusty. He's like, hey, you know what? It's easier to build a team now than it ever was. And then, he talked about how there was a player of his that an agent was coming to them about another deal. And he said, but this other school said, and then he tried to catch himself. And he said, hey, you know what? I didn't mean another school. I meant, I think they're going to offer. And Dusty said, no, you don't have to do that. I understand you represent your client. It's fine. I'm not going to say anything about you talking to other schools. If your client feels like he can be better off elsewhere, we'll help him. We'll help him get to that other school. We'll encourage him and give him a good word with that other school, because Dusty has it all figured out. And he said there was a comment earlier in the season after the Las Vegas run where one of the commentators said Michigan is horrifying. I heard a commentator from CBS say this week, he said Michigan is horrifying because Dusty May, it's like he's not concerned, not plussed about who he's going to lose. It's like this guy knows he's going to go back and replenish whatever he loses in the portal. He has this whole thing figured out.
Yeah, man. So, part of my my conversation while I was running around the hotel lobby thanking all our NIL people for this wonderful championship is I got some of their ideas and some of their, from different perspectives of how they view Michigan's players and how this team was put together. And I think that a lot of people in the national, they're looking for a very simple answer, right? How was Michigan built? Oh, they went in the portal and bought the best players. If that's the lesson you're taking away from this team, please go ahead. Please go ahead and think exactly that, because that's not what this team was built. Now, what they did do is they changed how they evaluate players versus how other schools do. They cared a lot about personality. They cared a lot about how they would fit together. And this especially when they were looking at Elliot Cadeau and what they wanted out of a point guard. They wanted a specific personality that he fit. When they met Adaimara, they were all of a sudden very locked in. When they met Merez, they were all of a sudden willing to spend more than they originally thought they were because he was going to fit so well with this team. And I think that those conversations are an underrated part about how this team came together, because in the end, what they do, they beat UConn, who runs circles around everybody and undoes your defense unless you guys have like a brain meld kind of defense and can switch on them. And that's what they did. This is the most team play you've ever seen. And I just wanted to finish. I know I'm talking a long time here. I know, but I got some things to say. I just want to finish because, like, the way that team came together, the way that team was able to play with each other. You said earlier that Dusty admitted, hey, it's easier to build a team now. And that's true. Arizona, Duke, Michigan, these are some of the best basketball teams to ever exist in college basketball. And they all kind of use the portal the same way. They found guys that fit what they're doing. And Michigan had to go find more guys, but they found fits. And in the end, that's what they were. They fit together.
This is why, Craig, it was like, you got a guy, you got a dude. There is no way that he should, unless he just wants to leave, which you can't control that if someone just wants to go, right? But if he wants to stay, there should be every reason for him to be here for life, right? I mean, they just can't. He's got it. He's a dude. X's and O's, from connecting with players, recruiting, roster building. He has all the elements.
Well, I think we have to have the same attitude vis-a-vis Dusty as Dusty has in relation to his players, if that's what you're talking about. I mean, there's some noise that Dusty might go to UNC or here, or
Not anymore.
It's silly. I mean, he is in a perfect place for him. He's always told us the truth. He said, you know, give me a gym and a ball, and where does my wife and where does my family want to be? And so I don't see him leaving here. And when he does, fine. You know, we want him to be happy someplace else. We want him to be a success someplace else. You know, the things about, you know, that are interesting is that, to me, is that Cadeau didn't seem to be all that wanted at UNC.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the UNC fans were like, you know, okay, goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't a loss. And even more so with Mara and UCLA. I mean, he was playing, I don't know if it was 10, 12 minutes a game, maybe. He played 8 minutes against us last year when he was at UCLA. And so UCLA didn't really seem to covet him or want him. And yet I would say that Mara, maybe in some sense, certainly in the national championship game where he didn't do much on offense, was perhaps the most important player we had. He changed everything on defenses, and teams just were stymied. Even, you know, our boy Terrace, you know, just, you know, was not effective in the paint. I think he was like 4 of 11 from close, just because of Mara's length. So yeah, NIL's important, but it's just not NIL. It's people who want to be, you know, where they're at. Just 2 quick things. One, Brian's article this week, I commend to anyone. It's brilliant. Congratulations, Brian. It's a brilliant article. I think it sums the season up better than anyone has written. I would say the other article to read is Yaxel's. I don't know if anyone read what Yaxel wrote. I think it's in the New York Times. It's quite impressive. And I commend that. The last thing of things that you guys have said is, I like the idea of coming to Michigan to be a sidekick, since I've always been a fan of sidekicks. You know, Walter Brennan, Gabby Hayes, you know, Yaxel Lendenberg, I don't know, his sidekick, if you could call him that, Lendenberg. And anyway, just such a compelling year. The thing I keep hearing is this the best team of all time? It's one of my 2 favorite teams, but I think, yeah, it's the best team of all time at Michigan. I think you have to conclude that.
Yeah. You know, the question for me is, how high on draft boards has a die risen? You look at To a Man, and you just alluded to this, Craig. To a Man, every single guy improved his stock. I mean, it's every single guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so within the framework of the team being successful. And that is the unbelievable pitch that Dusty is talking about. He said, you know, in recruiting, you had to go and you had to do a lot of convincing. And there's not as much convincing anymore. Yeah, you might have to convince a guy that this fit is better than that fit, but you don't have to convince a guy that you can be successful here because you got the proof in the pudding and that we're going to win here because you got the proof in the pudding now. So the case is a lot easier to make when Elliot Cadeau is so much better, Brian, when Morez is so much better, when Adai came from basically purgatory. Like, no one expected Adai Mara to be talked about like he could be a lottery pick. Like, if he's a lottery pick, he's gone. If he's low first round, then Michigan still has a chance because he said after the game, he said, look, I would love to come back. I would love to go to the NBA. I love both options. I just got to sit and we got to evaluate which one is going to be the best for me. So to me, it's a matter of if it's low first round like it was for Yaks, Michigan can beat the NBA. If it's lottery, you got to tell the young man, good luck to you.
Well, it's going to be the lottery.
Yeah, I think that's right, Brian. It's going to be the lottery.
Like he's displayed his, a drop coverage center, but he has the mobility to play in the NBA. He has the shot blocking, his free throw shooting improved radically at the end of the season. And he's a guy who, if you're looking at him, you're like, yeah, he's got enough upside to be one of the best rim protectors in the NBA. A special player, and watching him develop over the course of the season was extremely rewarding. Like, I put this in my column. Like, there was I remember a game early in the season where he made a bucket and he'd missed some shots and he just kind of like waved his arms around above his head. Like he was like, finally, I didn't screw it up. And it felt like he was timid and he wasn't like, he didn't have that dog in him, and watching him progress over the course of the season to be the Adai Mara who won a national championship, who was best rim protector and who went through people in the post, was as well a really great example of what Dusty May can do for you. And you saw it with Morez Johnson, who added a 3-point shot, improved his free throw shooting by almost 20 points. You saw it with Yaxel Lendeborg, who's moved up in the draft. You saw it with Elliot Cadeau. So Elliot Cadeau, by the end of the season, he had gotten the turnovers under control. And, in the semifinal against Arizona, he was 2 of 14. And everybody was like, this is the best player on the court. And he was.
Yeah.
So I think the atmosphere is really important. I think the fact that, Michigan isn't going to just yell at you. They're going to try to build you up. And I think that's going to be a theme of Dusty May's program.
Yeah, I think it's an excellent point, and it highlights the contrast that Craig brought up. I mean, these guys, it wasn't just that they played lesser roles or less, they weren't as highly regarded. It was, man, the coaching staffs that they were with clearly didn't see in them what Michigan was able to pull out, or else they wouldn't have let them go, right? They did not see this at all.
Well, Mara played 12 minutes a game last year.
Exactly. And
which
so
is insane.
Look at how much more Michigan was able to get out of these guys. It obviously wasn't just individual improvement. It was coaching vision, coaching support. You shoot threes in practice and you show you can make them, you can shoot them in games. Morez Johnson Jr., that kind of thing is something that even when Michigan beat Illinois, guys, it was crazy. Michigan beat the brakes off of Illinois. Morez has a monster game. He hits a 3-pointer in the contest. And you had Illinois people coming on our show saying, yeah, but Morez is still best when he just bangs in the post and gets rebounds. That's why he left, folks. That's why he left. But Dusty obviously saw much more.
That's the thing here, man. Like, does anybody honestly believe? I mean, bigs get better, basketball players get better. Does anyone honestly believe Adai Mara was going to be better under Mick Cronin? Do you think that this is like that was not a good move for him? Do you think that Mick Cronin, the way that he coaches and he like, no one else is on this team but me, right? Like, there is no way Adai Mara, knowing that guy, progresses the way he does. And Morez Johnson, I mean, Brad Underwood can develop dudes, but as far as the system Underwood is running this year, he'd rather have an Ivisic than than Morez Johnson. I think he could have used him. I think they could have used some toughness down low. and Underwood was probably very upset about that. But I think it was a good move from Perez.
Great move from
Perez. Yeah, and then I mean Cadeau. I gave Brian credit for this on our podcast too. When you talked about Cadeau in preseason, he's like, I think Hubert Davis is in his last year at UNC. Like, you don't know. And I trust
that wasn't exactly the hardest call.
Hey, but if you're those coaches, I mean, don't you have to be saying this? I mean, you got to be looking in the mirror like, what didn't we do? But wow, these schools can never recruit against Michigan. Well, I guess UNC has a new coach, but Mick Cronin can never recruit against Michigan ever again. It's over. Just saying, guys.
I can't believe he can recruit at all. I mean, you just play any of choose a random moment from any of his press conferences and be like, "Do you want to play for that guy?"
And so, the other thing that I'm struck by, comparing this run to the football run, which was amazing. It will live on forever. It felt like it was the culmination, and it turned out to be this was the end of an era as far as Harbaugh was concerned. You thought maybe you could carry over, but with Jim at the helm, you just knew this was it. But with Dusty, guys, I mean, it's so the beginning. It's so just getting started. There's every reason to believe that Michigan is going to be a perennial championship contender with what we know he can put together.
Well,
Go
ahead. I was just going to say, he did it last year when he had 1.5 players coming back, right? Will Cheddar and the uncertain Amari. And he did it this year using the portal, and we'll see next year. But yeah, it sure looks that way. Sure looks that way.
I'm concerned the NBA might take him. And sometimes we're like, oh, that guy's it's a college dude. I don't think he's going to ever leave for another college job. I think that UNC is probably the best job that's going to come. Indiana and UNC have already come available. Who else are you afraid of, right?
Right.
Duke's not going to be available anytime soon. Shire is one of the best coaches in basketball. So unless he gets taken in the NBA, that's it. And for this era, we talked about this, and I was wrong about Sharon, but I was right about one thing about Sharon was that he gets players to like him, right? Yeah. The players were and he was good at that kind of recruiting, and that's very important when players can leave after a year and have to choose where they're playing every year, right? You can't just get a kid whose dad says you're going to go play for Mr. Rizzo and he's going to teach you how to be a man, and then you're stuck under that tyrant for 4 years. Right? That's not how the world works anymore. So you need someone that guys want to play for. That's got to be your number one thing in coaching. Who would you rather play for? This is the Mick Cronin thing again. Who do you want to play for in college basketball? Good coach or not? Who do you want to play for?
I mean, for this vision, I hate to bring this up, but your underwear is in a bunch, and you got to crap bricks. I mean, this is Tom Izzo right now. He is just beside himself because everything that he hates about this era of college basketball was just sort of validated as a way to be successful in Ann Arbor. It couldn't be any worse for Tom Izzo that Dusty May in year 2, doing it his way, won a championship. I mean, this is a change to me, the changing of the guard to new school. And I even put Dan Hurley in the new school of coaches. He uses the portal and all of that. The dinosaurs, other than Rick Pitino, man, I just think they're going to – I don't think the dinosaurs will see their day again.
Sam, which one's he going to hate more? This championship or the next championship when Michigan does it behind a dude who's chesty and from Flint?
Hey, man, what I tell you, you know how he is, though. He just he couldn't believe that a dude from Flint didn't even let Michigan State make the group of finalists. And I hope one day I hope John, his dad, is willing to tell the story about the interaction with Izzo after Trey's base. No thanks.
I saw him in the lobby. I couldn't get that out of him either. I tried. But man, every time Michigan wins one of these, we win a national championship. Glenn Rice is the last time we won one of those things.
Yes, he represented Flint well. And how about this? Trey McKinney, let's say he does it again. He could be the best player since Glenn Rice to come out of the city of Flint, jumping a whole era of Spartans. He is on the verge of doing that, I think, personally.
Well, McKinney really came along this year. And, right from the get-go, he was a phenomenal mid-range shooter. He's physical. He's tough. His ball handling early on was a little shaky, and he sort of plateaued mid-season on his three shooting. He fell to like he was shooting under 30% for a good chunk. But as the season wore along, he finished, I think, almost 40% from three, which is damn good, and surprised me a bit. I'll fall on my sword on that one happily. But his ball handling, I felt, also improved. He's a tremendous defender. So yeah, you're right. He could be the best player from Flint ever, I think.
It's going to be hard to surpass Glenn, but
it's hard to surpass Glenn.
Yeah, but I tell you what, I mean, you look at his game, and he got to be lethal from the mid range.
Yeah,
and I would say just go watch some MJ tape. He doesn't have the hops that MJ had, but that's why you don't watch MJ 84 to 94. Watch MJ 95 to 99, and Trey can do that. Trey can be with that time when Michael Jordan became the best post player in the NBA, or one of the top 2 or 3, where he had a turnaround jumper that no one could defend. Trey can do that. He has the pull-up game. He obviously can knock it down from 3. And the mindset, this is the other part that makes me think he is going to elevate to Big Ten Player of the Year level next year. The game it never gets too big for him. The moment he just they said, Trey, you had missed a bunch of shots leading into the last one that you made. You're shooting in the state. He said, man, it's just basketball. Same thing I do in the gym. It's just another gym, and this is another shot. He's going to be able, I think, to take over the mantle that Yaks had this year for Michigan.
Yeah, if you're looking at a guy who is just anointed as like this is going to be a great college player, it's McKinney. Like, I have long railed against long twos, but I mean, what are you going to do? I'm like, those are good shots for him. And he's not just a shooter. He's a guy who's going to the bucket. Like, he had a very aggressive take late in this game to get to the free throw line. And that's something that you can see emerging as part of his game. So yeah, I think next year he's going to slide in that starting lineup. He's going to be out there 30, 35 minutes a game, and he's going to be probably Michigan's biggest star. It depends on who they get out of the portal, of course, but just in terms of like a plug and play 5-star who's going to be around for a few years because he doesn't quite fit that NBA aesthetic. Like, I think, he's the perfect kind of college recruit right now because he's obviously a dude, but he's just not 6'8". So
yeah,
but he's also not 5'10". He's 6'4". So he's just kind of short of where you need to be until you actually like go LeBaron Filan on people. So I feel like he's going to be a big deal. I think Cadeau really turned a corner, and then, we've been hearing that Michigan might get Marez Johnson back, and then that's a really good
core. Yeah.
Core.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead. We'll get to a break, come back on the other side, and I'm charging the fellas with doing this for us. So you have to give us a hockey preview that appeals to the experts, but also brings in the novices. It's a tough thing to do. So I'm telling you, don't go glow puck. You can't be the glow puck, but you got to find like that happy medium between the experts out there and the novices out there when it comes to Michigan hockey in the Frozen Four. We're going to get into that on the other side here on the Michigan Insider on the Big 1050 WTK, online, thebig1050.com.
It's easier than you think, Sam.
On the radio.
Oh, sorry. It's easier than you think, Sam. I'm just gonna I'm just gonna drop a link
Okay.
to David's final Frozen 4 preview, and you can go and read that.
Yeah, man. It's gonna be. I think Alejandro's like, hey, if they lose, I can be back for the celebration on Saturday. It's like, you're not coming back Saturday, Dro. They're gonna. There's just too much positive momentum in the Michigan atmosphere right now to think that this is not going to continue to go well. So we will see. I wish John Blackwell was as much of it. Someone said Blackwell or
Juke.
Yes, or Juke. Yes.
Juke Harris.
Yeah, it is. Which one? I mean, one is easier to get than the other. One is easier to get than the other. I would love. I don't know John Blackwell's situation in terms of graduation. Would I be all over him if he is on the verge of graduating for Wisconsin? Yes. Because if Izzo is smart, if he gets off of his I don't do the portal thing, I mean, he has a leg up in that pursuit because he can get juniors and seniors.
Well, Blackwell's going to be a senior, so I mean, he think he's close to graduating. There's also some reciprocity with Big Ten schools. It's not the same as Michigan State, but you can take a certain number of classes at Wisconsin. Someone was just telling me this yesterday that you can take a certain number of classes at Wisconsin at another Big Ten school, and they'll count it towards credit, or anything else in the CIC. But like that's, I think that there's also, the issue. I think his dad played for Illinois. He's from around here. So like everyone around where I live is like, oh, John Blackwell, that's our man,
son. I talked to his mom, so his mom did a podcast with Samaj's mom, and I had them on, I had them both on my show, John's mom and Samaj's mom. And she was, I don't know if she knew that, John was about to have this kind of season, but she knew he'd be better. And there was some, I think there was some appreciation for Michigan that came through, but her son was at Wisconsin at the time. If there's an opportunity from a credit standpoint to bring him over, I think Michigan would have an absolute shot. Absolutely. Now, I just don't know that the credits thing really works out. So
aren't they going to want to try and work in McCoy a bit next year? Because I view McCoy as a combo guard. Yeah, and so now you're a little crowded in the backcourt. I don't know. I don't see Juke as a guard at all. I keep hearing people saying he's a combo guard. No, he's not. He's a 3-4. That's what he was at.
He's not a 4.
Well, that's what he was at Wake.
Well,
yes, and that's not what. And that was misusing him.
Keep this in mind. Yax was a 5 at UAB.
Yeah, I know.
He was a 3 here, and a really good 3 here.
Yeah, but Juke is not a 2. I mean, what did he have? 5 Juke assists all year.
He's not a 1. He's not a 1, and he's not much of a creator. It wasn't like there was much to create on that team. Well, you pass it to someone, and Cooper Schweiger is just going to bounce it off his forehead.
Yeah. I guess for me, he's whatever Dusty and company thinks he is. Because none of these guys. I remember talking to John Beeline down in Chicago for the Wrigley game, and he was like, "Sam, hey man, Yax would be my 4." He said, "You know how he'd be my." Yeah. He said, "I'm not saying that it's not going to work."
Dude, Evan Smotrich was one of his 5s.
I'm giving you the point. He said, "I'm not saying that it's not going to work what they're doing with Yax." He said, "They know better than me. I'm just telling you how it would be for me." So clearly, Dusty saw something that even John Beeline,
back in about 30 seconds, guys.
See.
No one saw. Maybe not no one. Because Dusty did, but Mara, Rez, and Yax all being there. That was not something that people said, "Oh yeah, that works."
That's why my point is, I wouldn't pigeonhole any of these guys into the roles that they project to have coming from where they come.
Stand by, guys. Coming back in about 15 seconds.
That's a reasonable point.
At least not with Michigan.
Right.
He's 200 pounds. He's not a 4 at Michigan. Period.
Back on radio in 5, 4, 3.
And we are back, folks, here on the Michigan Insider on the Big 1050 WTKA, online at thebig1050.com. Before we get back to the MGoBlog Roundtable, give you your Frozen Ford preview, want to tell you, if you're in the market for a new vehicle, get on board with Brighton Ford, because at Brighton Ford, it's not just about buying a vehicle. It's about a real driving experience that gives you style, durability, and endless possibilities. Feel the power, enjoy the ride, and drive it off the lot today. Discover the Brighton Ford difference, where passion for performance meets outstanding service. And from now through April 30th, qualified lessees can lease a 2026 Ford F-150 for as low as $265 a month, with only $3,500 down plus first payment, taxes, doc fee, title license, and state fees due at signing. Security deposit waive, 7,500 miles per year, 24 months. Call 1-800-NEW-FORD or see dealer for full details. If you're leasing a car already, Brighton Ford will make the switch seamless, no hassle, no stress. Call 1-800-NEW-FORD and get on board with Brighton Ford. All right, fellas, so I tasked you with something that Seth says is not that difficult: to appeal to the hockey experts with a preview of the Frozen Four while bringing the novices along for the ride, the people who are going to watch their first Michigan hockey game tonight. Can you bridge that gap and bring everyone up to speed? I'll start with you, Brian Cook.
Yes. It's completely random. That's all you need to know.
You know, there's a lot of truth to that, unfortunately, especially when you're talking about a 1-game series in a building where, you know, neither team plays. Yeah, it's random. But I think what you could say about Michigan hockey this year is they're fairly deep. They don't have a superstar, although I think TJ Hughes may win the Hobie Award when that's announced. But they're a team that has not just one line, but probably 4 lines that can actually play hockey, as opposed to having your lines sort of holding the fort for the top line. It's a very balanced team. They have good goalkeeping. They have pretty good defense. You know, so not a superstar team, but unlike the past, it's a team with just a lot of good hockey players, some of whom will play in the NHL. I assume you don't want Brian or Seth to explain the offside rule.
No, not that novice. Not that novice. But Seth, I know you have a way in which people could really get up to speed, right?
Sure. Michigan has the best goalie in the tournament. Michigan played the best in the tournament so far, not counting like Denver got to play in Loveland and North Dakota got to like fly a bunch of Eastern teams out to meet them. This is the dumbest tournament format ever created. And it was created specifically to make things look random. In this case, the randomness put Michigan in Las Vegas. Michigan's the #1 overall seed. They just got to sit in the NHL locker room. And honestly, this team is not like all the other Michigan teams. We've seen so many Michigan teams go to the playoff and lose because because of this randomness. And part of that randomness is they tend to have guys who make mistakes. Now, I'm not saying that they make no mistakes, but I've never seen a group of guys come in and make as few mistakes as they do, especially like freshman defensemen who were developed at the U.S. national team. And so when you come to hockey, there's always a narrative that you find afterwards to explain the randomness. And I still agree with Brian, it's random. But the narrative after Michigan wins this national championship is going to be the U.S. National Development Program won hockey this year. They won the gold for the United States, and they sent some players to Michigan who were already ready to play hockey at this level, and they dominated all these other older players because they can play like they're older players. And that, once Michigan wins this random tournament, is going to be the story.
I mean, I'd like maybe Brian to speak to briefly how NCAA hockey is going to change, if it already hasn't, with the players from the Canadian leagues previously considered professional can now move to American college hockey. I mean, how much of a change will that bring?
It's a significant change. You have a number of guys who Michigan has recruited who would not have gone to the CHL route earlier because it would strip them of their eligibility, who are now there. I mean, I think one thing that it's conclusively proven is that the CHL is nowhere near the NCAA's level of play. And I think that's going to draw more players to college hockey over the course of the next few years because it's indisputably the best place to develop. So it's more access to the top players for Michigan. Landon DuPont, who might be the #1 overall pick in 2027, is highly considering the college route, according to Mike McMahon, who runs probably the best college hockey newsletter out there. If you're a college hockey fan, you should subscribe to it. But one thing it allows Michigan to do is it allows them to patch holes. And the most remarkable thing about this Michigan hockey team is that they brought in Matthew Mania. He hasn't played enough for me to know how to pronounce his name. They lost their #1 defenseman, Henry Muse, early in the season. And Mania is a guy who's a 5th-round pick who has 200 CHL games under his belt. He can't get on the ice. He cannot find the ice when he was a good CHL player for a really long time. And I think one thing that has propelled Michigan to where they are now is that they have 3 pairings on defense, and all of them are good. And that has been very difficult for Michigan to sustain because they lose so many guys to the NHL that often once you get past the real stars, especially on defense, things got dodgy. They got shallow. And nowadays you have a much bigger pool, especially also with the transfer portal, to pull guys into Michigan. And I think quietly the most important Michigan player that got added in the offseason is Ben Robertson, because he was Cornell's #1 defender. And a lot of the defensive solidity that you see is because Michigan has 2 seniors in Tyler Duke and not Luca De La Torre.
Fantilli.
Yeah, Luca Fantilli, sorry. And then they have guys who have been around the block, and they have a couple who are good freshmen who are promising, but they don't have to take the tough minutes. They don't have to take the defensive zone faceoffs. So Michigan's ability to roll depth is much better, and they are still a very young team, but they can supplement with good established plug-and-play players. And so I think what we've seen of late is more consistency in the NCAA tournament, where we're not seeing Union and Yale win national championships or reach Frozen Fours. It's been Denver, it's been BU, it's been BC. So I think, I've talked forever about how this is random, and playing Denver is no predictions. Don't predict anything. But I think in the regionals now, I think you do have more of a okay, this team is favored to win and should win, which is good, honestly, because it's been so random for so long that the championships have felt cheap. Mm-hmm. So I feel like it's actually a pretty good development for college hockey, and it's a bad development for the CHL because all those questions about which one is the better league have been definitively answered because Gavin McKenna came to the Big Ten and he was okay. He was pretty decent. He wasn't scoring 3 points a game. So
pointed questions in our remaining 5 minutes. Does Michigan have the best goaltender left? Michigan's strength, where can they be, what are the aspects of this team that you think could be successful in tonight's matchup? And then what's their biggest vulnerability in this matchup?
So the Denver goalie has been playing out of his mind, like .960 save percentage. And if you look at the advanced stats that they have for college hockey, which are still a little thin, it does look like Ivan Kovic is the best goalie in the country or close to it. He just hasn't had the same save percentage over the past few games as the Denver goalie. But for Denver, they always have a ton of talent. And one thing that I don't know if Michigan has seen this year is that they have a defenseman with 18 goals, Polkamp, who's a Hobie finalist. And I'm a little concerned that they're going to be able to kind of traipse through the zone using some high-powered offensive defensemen, because the league didn't really have a guy like that for Michigan to go up against. Michigan State has some rough and tumble guys, but there wasn't that kind of electric Quinn Hughes type defenseman. And one thing Denver always brings to the party is a very offensively minded defense core, and that's something that could be an issue. I do feel like Michigan is deep enough that they're not going to be caught off guard by Denver's talent. But Denver is coached by David Carl, who's probably going to be a long-time successful NHL head coach in the near future. No nonsense guy. And his game plans against Michigan in the tourney have made me feel despondent. So this is what I'm worried about, is that it just feels like Michigan can't get a hold of the puck.
Yeah, the one thing that it's kind of weird that UMD kind of used the best strategy against Michigan, and they did have some of those puck moving defensemen, and you saw them getting, especially as Michigan was sitting back, they got a lot of room in the middle of the ice in the regionals. And I think that was the strategy that Denver was. I wonder if they were like sitting there going, "Oh crap, that's what we were going to do to Michigan." So at least they've seen it now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that even Kovac is as good as any goalie left going forward. I think that puts Michigan in good standing because he ain't going to the NHL. Someone just said that the Carl is the Hurley of college hockey, and I think that might be true. Incidentally, very impressed with Hurley's coaching against Michigan. I was impressed with what he said, but I also think that Denver's sort of a fair analog, and so I not predicting this game is smart because A, ordinary randomness, B, Denver's a really good team, but so is Michigan, and Michigan has the sort of team that can win. So
do you know who Denver is?
Who's
you know who
that?
Denver is? Denver is is like every Michigan team that like turned it like that was going to be a 1 seed or close to it, and then got beat. They got a small goalie who's playing out of his mind. They got puck-moving defensemen. They've got tons of NHL talent. They got a great coach. Those are those Michigan teams that never could win it, right?
Yeah.
They were us.
Yeah. So real quick, so if they win tonight, you think they win it all at that point, or are you still on it's all random?
I mean, North Dakota's really good, and Michigan had a lot of trouble with Wisconsin this year. They have a forecheck that is extremely disciplined, and Michigan had a hard time with in all 4 of those games. So no, I mean, if Michigan beats Denver, I think it's equally as a coin flip in the final. There's no weak teams in the Final Four this year, Frozen Four this year. Everybody has a pretty equal chance of winning.
I see it the same way.
All right, fellas, that is going to do it for us. Another outstanding MGoBlog Roundtable. We'll see you next week where we're hopefully talking about another national champion for the Maize and Blue. Until then, folks, we'll see you tomorrow here on the Michigan Insider on the